Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. This week, I want to discuss why can't we just do simple things? A discussion about the XenoThreat event. We saw this video on IGN. Looked really deep, like a lot of stuff was going on. Big capital ships, explosions, things everywhere. And then recently we had the Vandal Mask event. And I kind of posed the question, like, the way Star Citizen game development has been going, it's been like these small incremental steps that stack on top of each other and eventually lead to something cool. We've seen it with the actor status system. We've seen it with the flight experience. Like, gradually things have been getting better and better and better in terms of, like, the additions they've been making to the game. But when it comes to something like dynamic events, CIG wants to go full July 4th and just launch like massive fireworks, but they eventually end up blowing off their hand because they're trying to do too much, it seems like, right? Like the XenoThreat event seems just like massive and it's just ridiculous. So I posed the question, why can't we take those small incremental steps towards something like XenoThreat? And on the flip side, we did not have a CitizenCon this year. This XenoThreat event seems and feels very much like their one thing that they really were trying to push game development forward with this year. This was the big event. XenoThreat was CitizenCon in terms of the game development standpoint on things. The really big push forward was the XenoThreat thing. So I can see that there's two sides to this coin. So I thought, what an interesting subject. I feel, personally, we can do the simple things because I play this game on a regular basis. I am biased. All right? I'm biased towards, give me little carrots to work towards in game. Let me enjoy what we currently have there because, you know, using like Chris Roberts' words about like when he compared Star Citizen to like Sea of Thieves, that there is quite a bit to do in the game if there was incentive to do it. So that's how I feel. Why can't we just do simple? But I see that XenoThreat was that big event that can, you know, push the game devs towards a common goal, something big, something that I guess the entire like live service part of the company could work on. But you know, we have Idris's in game. Did XenoThreat have anything to do with that? Who knows? So without further ado, let's get to our callers. We have pretty much the first two callers I don't think I've seen on the show to date. So it should be an interesting show with some new perspectives, hopefully. Hello, Elite Week. What's up, man? How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hello, Mike, and greetings to citizens from the verse.
What's up?
I am brand new to Star Citizen. I've been an elite player for a while and just coming into Star Citizen, and I love this topic. I find it super interesting because I'm coming in from a different perspective. Now, keep in mind, I've only been playing Star Citizen for about a week, but I dive into things like crazy hard, and I've already watched, I would say, about 100 hours of your content and a lot of other Star Citizen creators.
Thank you.
And yeah, it's good stuff. Thank you. Mm-hmm. So to get to the point, I feel like the way that you're posing this question is interesting because you're clearly looking at it from one viewpoint where you say,
absolutely,
you know, you say like, I feel that from a development standpoint, this is the CitizenCon, that this is the quote big thing that pushes them to get a chunk of tech sort of out and deliverable.
Yeah.
And I would wonder if maybe it is the CitizenCon, but not from a dev standpoint, but maybe more from a marketing standpoint. And in that case, sort of Star Citizen is funded by the continual purchase of sort of these ships, these sort of pay to win things at a good value or a good price or whatever.
Pay to win. And I appreciate it.
And I think maybe what they're looking at is we need a big hype driver to generate revenue for the next 6 months or so. And that when you put out a big sexy trailer for like, we've got the honkin' 4th of July, aliens are coming, this is going to be huge, you drive a lot of hype. And then people buy, and once they've bought, they're sort of on the treadmill and stuck. So I think that what you're talking about as far as like the let's do small incremental things that are concrete and deliverable and can be good, I think that's the better idea on how to develop a game, but it's not the thing that the marketing department is going to get excited over and say like, we can sell this, we can whatever. So I think the fundamental difference in the simple versus the huge honkin' thing is, you know, the product A is better. And I would agree with you that I think product A is better. But I mean, there's even a clip of, I think, Chris Roberts saying like, we built upon the Vandal Mask event. And it's like, okay, but if it didn't quite exactly work right and you're saying like, we're going to go 10 times bigger, that's, to me, that's not development, that's hype and marketing.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're coming from, but the thing about like the hype and marketing stuff, like they just had it. They just did their big thing. I mean, you've only been playing for like a week or so, you said, right? Like, so you were probably a part of that, you know, getting brought into Star Citizen through some of the more recent things that have been done.
Ooh,
would that be correct? To assume?
Actually, no, but it's
okay.
just weird. I've been an Elite Dangerous content creator for like over a year, and I bought Star Citizen like a year ago, but I was on a potato computer that couldn't really run it right.
Yeah.
And then I just got a brand new rig with a 3080 and all the stuff. And I was like, all right, now I'm going to get to finally play Star Citizen. And sure. I totally, I'm not one of those guys that I know that there's a tribalism thing where you're supposed to like be on team A or team B and shit on the other thing. I'm not part of that at all. I'm for all of the things. I hope all of the space sims work out great and are awesome, because I think that'll just push the other ones to do great as well. True. So I'm a huge fanboy for Elite, but I'm also I'm falling in love with Star Citizen. It is an amazing project, and I very much want it to do great things.
Okay. Well, like let's dive into that a little bit. Like, you being from Elite, they do like weekly or monthly kind of events with like there's community goals and things like that. Can not being much of an Elite player, can you describe what those are like and how that is for a player who plays Elite Dangerous? Does it give you things to do? Does it provide change? Is it interesting? Is it fun?
Absolutely. I can tell you from looking over the concurrent
can you give examples?
Numbers.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can tell you from looking over like if you look at the Steam charts of like concurrent player numbers and whatnot, when they stopped, because they stopped doing all of that for like a year while they were working on Odyssey, which is the next big thing that's launching, in a couple months. And when they stopped that, the numbers of concurrent players took a nosedive massively. So yes, having sort of weekly / every other week type events of things to do where people go in and they change, the nature of them change. 1 month or 1 week, it might be a mining thing. The next week it might be a cargo hauling thing. The next week it could be an exploration thing where you have to bring in exploration data. So like, yeah, those things are great, and I agree with you 100% from a dev standpoint and from a what is good for the existing player base and what will people find engaging and enjoyable and what will drive up player hours, like whatever unique player hours in game. That is absolutely, I think, key and would be huge for Star Citizen if they were to take the existing things that they have. But I mean, this game is such a weird dichotomy of like crazy ambitious and that's awesome, but like you're also talking about a $500 million funded game where I can't use all of my Mobi-Glass screen or my map because I'm wearing armor on my arms. So like Yeah, it's a weird mishmash of the incredibly ambitious and the
Ridiculously
sort of
buggy.
blind spots on super easy little things to get.
Yeah, like the big thing that I'm taking away from you is I don't know if you're trying to play devil's advocate or not, or if you're just becoming one of. I hope you're not becoming one of the things I despise about the community is everything that they're always focused on is, but this is a company, but this is a business, right? And it's always, well, how are they going to make money? And it's like that's not your job to worry about. Like when you're a member of the community,
Yeah.
it's your job to worry about giving them feedback on how to make the game better at this stage of everything, and it's not your job to figure out how they should be making more money or worrying about how they should make more money.
Yeah,
Okay.
let me do a better job of clarifying my point.
Okay.
That's not that I'm not saying that. I'm not
Okay.
white knighting for them. What I'm saying is I 100% agree with you that they're missing the mark. They should be doing the more simple things.
Okay.
I think they're motivated by the hype and the marketing, and they're making a bad call in saying,
Gotcha.
we're going to give you this massive, we're going to give you, what was that? There were like, we're going to give you the next super in-depth, big $300 million blockbuster movie, and then it's crap because it just misses the storyline. Yeah, I would much prefer if they were to do maybe once a month smaller events that work on actually highlighting the features of the game loops that they have in, and maybe pushing, if you're looking at it from the way you're talking about it on a pushing the tech,
Yeah.
maybe they could start with something on the salvage loop or the data running loop or the something, and turn that incredibly sexy Millennium Falcon Star Runner ship into a thing that's more than a cargo hauler. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think that's why I think
I understand now.
they're going for something that you're not, and I think they should be going for what you're talking about.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the one thing is they've said this many times before though, is that yes, these are marketing events, but they are also from a game developer standpoint, and there's developers from the company that have been in chat that do agree with this sentiment, that these events absolutely do help them motivate and push people forward and push the game development forward. So even like I'm not making assumptions there. These are actual facts and truths. So while they, like your perspective of they might be doing this from a marketing standpoint, like yes, to some extent, but more from a, we need the devs to have this end goal in mind, otherwise we won't ever, because that's the biggest issue. Like you talk about how Star Citizen is this big ambitious thing. Well, if it's constantly moving the goalposts all the time, the dev and the people that work there don't have an end of the tunnel to work towards, and then you end up not making anything. And I think that was a problem that they had early on in like the 2016, 2017 period, and that they really learned from those mistakes and now are trying to change that, and using things like CitizenCon and using what seemingly seems like the XenoThreat event to be like, this is your goal. Everything you work towards this year is going to make this thing happen. And so that's why I bring that point up at the beginning, that yes, it could be a marketing thing, but marketing has their events. Marketing has Fleet Week, marketing has Invictus, they have those things twice a year now where they just make $50 million and, like out of nowhere. So they don't even need this stuff anymore. So marketing can have their events, and then the players need to have theirs. So,
except they lost CitizenCon this year from their viewpoint, from their as an extra revenue.
And maybe this was CitizenCon. We don't know that.
Yeah.
We don't know that this could have been the thing that they were going to show at CitizenCon, but never did. So
yeah.
Then they were like, oh well, hey, we got more times now, so let's do it for the end of the year kind of thing and make it really good, and then they still miss the mark. So it's one of those things that I mean, they obviously just dropped the ball as well with like marketing it before it was done, and fantastic job as always. But yeah, I guess go ahead. Yeah, sorry, I've been talking plenty.
Oh, no, that's okay. I just would really love to see them, as you said, not just even in this of not from like an event standpoint, but overall, I would very much like them. I know that it's like there's a lot of push to like new ships, because that's the thing that drives excitement and makes them money. But I would very much like them to focus on fundamentals. I mean, obviously, my viewpoint might be I might be wrong, and I'm not trying to say this as a dick. I swear to God, I don't consider Star Citizen to be a game right now. I consider it to be a super awesome tech demo. And the reason why I say this is, for me, a game is a thing that once you learn how to do it and do it right, you can like achieve, you can get better, you can build on. And I loaded up a Caterpillar 2 days ago with 1.8 million in Laranite, and about 90 seconds after takeoff 30k'd and lost all that money. And like, for me, until they get server meshing and iCache down, it's a tech demo. It's a very enjoyable one. It's fun. You can have fun in it, but you can't, like, as an MMO, you can't build anything until once later, hopefully, fingers crossed this year, when that happens, then it will be, for me, a full game. And then, but like a beta of a game, or sorry, an alpha of a game. And then once they get the game loops, once you have salvaging and once you have data running and all those whatever, then you could call it a full playable beta. But I feel like there's certain things that they do with expectations when they say it's a fully playable experience now, where you set the expectations up high to sell a thing, and then when people see what you have, they're sort of disgruntled a little bit.
Yep. That's their biggest issue. But
I mean,
setting the bar.
I love the project.
Sure.
I'm not saying this as a guy who's trying to shit on them. I'm super excited.
Just being realistic,
and I should go now and make room for other people.
All right, Elite. I appreciate your call, man. It was really good, and thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks, brother.
Be good. All right, our next caller is going to be Anton. I'm going to quickly check and see if we have any tweets, actually, before we do that. But I thought that was really good. I thought he, definitely kind of agreed pretty strongly with what I was saying. And I like I am really curious about the Elite Dangerous kind of style of things. And no, okay, we don't have any just yet, so we're gonna bring on Anton. Anton, what's up, man? How you doing? Welcome.
I'm good. I'm also kind of new. I started August last year. And why XenoThreat? I would say the same, marketing and so on. But as an example, what we said about build up, the Arlington missions. You started with a small ship to destroy and build up to the Hammerhead in 311, and with 312 it was the Idris to destroy.
Yeah.
And I was really hyped in 311 for the Idris. But after I got the Idris, the explosion is hype as fuck, but everything else is kind of boring. You need 2 retaliators to kill it. The missiles get destroyed. When you down to size 9 missiles and play with 15, 20 friends or Orga members, it can be kind of fun.
Sure.
But still, to see the railgun is, well, if you have a slow ship that doesn't move a lot, you get shot. But everything else, it was a disappointment. So
it just misses a lot, right? Because of the desync and...
Yeah, the desync is really bad in the beginning of 312. Still, just and I don't want to see some big events that get a lot of new players in potentially fail because of nothing to show.
Yeah.
And
do you feel, as somebody coming in August, that's kind of what happened to you?
No, because I
Yeah.
knew the game for a long time.
Okay.
My account on my Aurora is from 2016, so
Gotcha.
um, I just got also a better PC and had a lot of time at that time and
Yeah.
gave
Decided
it
to
another
start
try.
playing now.
And I MMO play. I played Guild Wars 1 and 2 a lot, and especially Guild Wars 1 and a little bit of Guild Wars 2 has a lot of events. And that's kind of things I like to see. Guild Wars 1 had like weekend events, and that I think Star Citizen is not in a state to have each weekend a small event.
No.
But you talked about an answer the call about an IE with a big venue. Why not make a mining event? I don't think it takes too much time to put 2 mining ships in the venue and then have like, okay, the players need to mine so much things. You have a full game loop nowadays. So you can say, okay, you mine Quantanium. And if you mine 100k Quantanium, you get this reward. And if you get the highest reward, you get a skin. Everything else is just perhaps, okay, you make for 5 days 10% more money out of this stuff. And so you got to show your fully developed game loop with mining. That's really good, I have to say, when it works. And that's kind of events I want to see more. And not weekly, but monthly or quarter based.
Agreed. Yeah, it doesn't need to be a weekly thing yet. We're not really at that point. But the one thing that I do tend to notice when it comes to these events is that everybody will say something like mining or something like cargo hauling, which is a little bit tough because those are the easy ones. But the one that they did first, which was interesting, was like the Vandal Mask event. But it was kind of cheated, like a lot. And I think the biggest issue is how do you create a scenario where it can't be cheated and it brings maybe more walks of life together. So it's not for me personally. It can't just be like mine Quantanium, please. It should be more like the Quantanium on this moon is really condensed. We found a huge spot where it all is, and like they actually mark the spot. You can quantum travel to it, and then all hell breaks loose, kind of thing. So that's what I'd like to see more than anything. To like take part in the event, there's risk, there's reward. It's a game. It feels like a game, and people can be involved on all aspects. So people can kill you, and if you survive, it's a rewarding experience.
Like Jump Down more.
Basically, yeah. I mean, I don't see anybody. There are very few people who say, "Don't bring a Jump Town scenario back." I hear we want Jump Town, we want Jump Town, we want Jump Town all the time. Why not use events like this to make that happen? I mean, the mask event was interesting, but it kind of missed the mark from the Jump Town days that were so great.
But then, as an example, when you combine piracy, PvP, and cargo hauling, say you got a point at on a moon, on a special time, there spawns an item. And you have to bring this item from point A to point B. And everybody knows it that at this time the item spawns. So you got your augurs or player base, your friends to get together and defend your cargo hauler. Perhaps it's a bigger item, perhaps you have to load a caterpillar full, whatever it is, and other pirates to try to get it. And then you have a more dynamic event that cannot be cheated as much because, okay, you can still put 50 players on the same server from your augur and fill it up and just do the event alone. But
then you're just
most
an asshole.
players don't have
point.
these kind of organizations.
Yeah.
That could be interesting, but I like the other event more, where you had to go to, what was the name of the small outpost?
Jump Town? What?
No, Vendel Mask and the other mask. Where you
Oh,
have to
Benny
go
Henge.
Benny Hedge, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I like exploration, and you have really nice wizards on this planet. So you say, okay, there's something hidden, perhaps a riddle, something where you have to find a place. It's a space game. I want to fly around and
Yeah.
even just discover new things, new places.
Agreed. Like for the first time ever, I went to the Microtech like under the building thing. That was
Yeah.
cool. Like you can have like pick up a thing there and bring it to here, and if you do, you get a reward. You know, so like that's what I mentioned earlier. Is if we want to push the game forward, we can push the game forward more if we focused like really heavily on, do X, pick up X, bring it to Y, and receive Z reward instead of Z being UEC. It can be an actual item.
Yeah.
Like if we spent
Or-
the entire year making that happen, I think the game would be so much better than if we did
But
getting
just
an
a skin
Idris in the game.
sometimes.
Say that again. I'm
If
sorry.
you- just a skin sometimes, like a
Yeah.
prospector skin for mining or whatever event it is. So you
Exactly.
a skin for the Vendel Mask event.
I agree, 100%. Like the little things, like I don't know, man. I got super hyped about the Vandal Mask event. I think a lot of people did. Whether they did a conga line to get it or not, they did it. They engaged with it, and I think that shows how valuable those things could be for Star Citizen in the future. And if we make it so you actually have to participate and it's not just simple and easy, for everyone, I think that'll be really sweet.
Yeah. And something to have accomplished in the game is really important to be a game.
Yeah.
For me, the only thing to accomplish is make more money, buy new ships. I started in August. Now I have like 12 ships with not worth, but 22 million of Alpha UC bought in game. But still, there's the end to it. It's getting boring because you make just money. And of course, the game loops can be fun, but you just do the same
Only to
thing
a
at the
point.
moment over and over again.
Yeah, they could be fun to a point.
Yeah.
There needs to be more to achieve and more to go for, and more consistent engagement with the game and variety.
Absolutely.
And if variety is simple as doing that same gameplay loop you've been doing, but for a different reason, that actually is variety, in a weird way.
For different reasons and different scenarios.
Exactly.
Best example is competitive games, CSGO or League of Legends. You play the same map or same game all over again, but each time something different happens, and that should be in the game.
Yeah, I agree.
Would
I agree.
piracy be more that you can make money out of piracy without being just griefer or griefing?
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Like the whole thing is it's tough because there's a lot of tech that's just not online to make that happen. You want
Yeah.
people to be able to loot and steal and all that, but they aren't there yet, so it's tough.
And my guess, tech for XenoThreat is not there to be fun.
Yeah, probably not yet. I mean, when people are soloing Idrises, you're not ready for this event.
I didn't see that yet, but I
Yeah.
just did it with a friend and 2 retaliators, and it took 1.5 minutes.
Yep. It's just that's pretty. 1.5 minutes, even with a few people, that's really underwhelming.
Yes.
These achievements should be wild and great and fun, and now, after that happening, that takes away from the XenoThreat event for you. If the end game is to kill an Idris, I don't know. We saw Javelin in the video, so who knows with all that, but yeah.
The thing with the Javelin, what can Javelin do? It's just a big ship at the moment. It's
the same thing.
It is a destroyer to destroy another big ship, but you don't have a big ship yourself, so you just shoot it.
Yep.
The ship is not your enemy at that point. It's just the health bar, the enemy.
Yeah, and the thing is it shoots back, but it doesn't hit you. So there's no feeling of risk.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's just like, and when you watch the trailer, it's like, You know, these things are perfectly hitting. They're 60 FPS. It looks amazing, and your experience in game is totally different. So it's
Well, it's the same with the NPCs that are standing on the seats and benches.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I don't know, Anton. Is there anything else you want to add before we move to the next caller? But yeah,
no, not
I
really.
appreciate it. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate your call, man. It was really good, and I like hearing from people that are newer to the game and sharing their experiences, just because people like me tend to be a bit more jaded, and I like to hear the perspective of people that didn't necessarily go through the 2016 dry spell, even though you did purchase around then. It's
Yeah, I tried it. It was just PO. I had legs like, well, it didn't work really.
Yeah.
And then, yeah. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, Anton. Thank you so much, man.
Bye.
Bye now. All right, we do have a quick tweet from Desmond before we get started here. He says, SaltEMike, I think despite their open dev narrative, they are constantly trying to ride the line without seeming like a work in progress to people in the game now that only play once a month. Holistic mechanics and events is more wow factor than Maizen place. I don't know what that means. Better optics. So they're trying to look better to the overall gaming community, I think is what he's trying to say. To be like, hey, we see, guys, we're doing things. You know, I think that's what he's trying to say. And yeah, that helps. But in the end, saying, see, guys, we're doing things and showing that you're doing things is way more than we've ever had before. So for me, it doesn't matter. It means in place of, okay. Like the way more, like that totally crushes 2017, 2018, 2019. Right? Like the whole hey, here's a place to go. Look at this pretty thing we did. Look at this pretty ship. That's a lot of what 2017, 2018, and 2019 was. Where 2020 was a lot more of, hey, go do these things. Check out this reputation. Check out the new UI. Check out the better flight experience, right? And then, hey, if you kill 50 players, we'll give you a Vandal mask. If you go here, we'll give you a different mask. If you do this, you can get this mask. So I think, yes, they're probably trying to have better optics, but better optics also means a better game, in my opinion. So thank you, Desmond. And with that said, I'll switch here for a second. But with that said, we'll move on to our next call, who's going to be Sigma Tech. He is a very regular caller, so that's good. Looking forward to it. Hey, Sigma, what's up, man?
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. So what are your thoughts on this stuff?
My perspective is going to be a little bit more from, a bit of a longer backer, to be honest.
Okay.
But I'm going to call it for what it is, and it's not going to be like a hugely negative thing, but more just this is my take, and I'm going to run with it a while.
Mm-hmm.
Your point about things needing to be more simple, I would really want to be seeing that coming into 2021, because while I don't think XenoThreat as an event, as a concept, is a bad thing, I think it's a very exciting and a very energizing kind of event. I think it was too soon for what we've all obviously become apparent of. But I think that if it was the sort of event that could have been pushed to the February time zone and created like smaller bite-sized things for people to engage with, especially throughout, going into Christmas, New Year's, and then early January, it could have given a little bit more time for the newer players that are coming in to kind of experience what the game is versus what they are kind of building it up to be. The really big sore zone for me at the moment, though, is the complete misrepresentation of the game and project as a whole that has come from the very beginning of 3.12, but also XenoThreat itself.
Okay.
Both Elite Week and yourself have highlighted that when you're presenting a game that is literally been shown as like smooth 60 frames, perfect battles, big space epic things, and then the player's going to jump in and experience like 10 to 20 frames leaving microtech. It's like, this is not the game. This is not what you're giving people. And I just feel like it's
To play
dirty,
devil's
for
advocate,
lack
what
of
are they
a more
supposed to
appropriate
do
term.
then?
What you're saying. Don't put something like that out that doesn't really represent what the person's paying $45 to go in and do. I would have been more inclined to do a Vandal Mask thing, like what you've been talking about, because that to me has shown that with the experience backers, they've been excited and energized to engage with that kind of event. Removed marketing from the whole stupid thing that they've done in the first place, but then also like bring in the newer players that are like, oh, so maybe I want to do combat, or maybe I want to do mining or cargo, or like something a little bit more simplistic, but it kind of leverages both the player base, but also CIG as a whole to kind of work together to have an enjoyable experience. I think when the example is, here's an address, and this is what it's going to do currently, I kind of look at everybody that's bought one and go, I hope this is not kind of like, obviously like longer down the line you're going to think, okay, the address is not going to be how it is now, but at the same time you kind of hope not, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Because it's that misrepresentation of what you're going to get. Whereas I think most of the callers have shown so far that the idea of going and exploring somewhere, or going and doing mining, or like doing something that you'd be more inclined to want to do, but also adding in the concept of the threat that comes with that from other players as well, is a far more exciting concept to do. Because that's why people want Jump Town. This is why people want Armistice Zones gone. This is why people want trading back. Like all these core things that I really don't think would be that difficult for the devs to do. I think if they really just took the time and put it in, that everybody would actually just be like, yeah, I don't want 60 frame space battles. I just want to be like hanging out with my buddies and getting into engagements and like having more of that kind of gameplay now, and then more of the epic space battles later, when everybody's like, yes, this is what the game is. That illustrates it perfectly.
Yeah, and I think you kind of hit home on a point that I feel really strongly about, is not everything needs to be marketed and not everything needs to be for sale. So the idea of like, some things, guys, could be for the players who play the game a lot. You could just do some things, and you don't need to make a big announcement about it. It doesn't need to be this big marketing thing, because in the end, a lot of the stuff in Chris Roberts' like end of the year content that he dropped was a lot of people are enjoying the game more. People are playing more because of the choices we made. Well, you just made a choice that directly contradicts that. Right?
Yeah, so if I could throw in there, I've got like 2 key points that exactly highlight that point there.
Yeah.
One, this entire event is exactly that. It's a complete opposite move to everything that Chris Roberts put in his letter. So that to me is like a big middle finger, personally. And that's why I'm already not playing the game. I haven't played the game since 3.12 launched because I don't feel any kind of respect for its current state. And the second part is gag marketing. Gag them for like a whole quarter if they ultimately have to get the dev team to really be front and center. And the only reason I say this is because if it weren't for the progress tracker, and if it weren't for the fact that I was able to look there today and look at a very particular thing and go, right, this is the gameplay that I'm actually waiting. When does it arrive? March next year. Cool. I can literally just stop playing from now. Now suddenly that letter that Chris was always going on about is like, cool, you want me to play the game, but you're doing literally nothing to encourage me to want to do that. But your marketing is. And I'm like, nah, I don't really want to be using that as the crutch. I want people like you, I want the players, I want the base to want me to log in and play. If that's not being successful, there's a bigger problem at place here, and marketing's not painting a good picture for me personally on that front.
Yeah, it just seems like they're doing their own thing aside from what game dev is doing, and there's like this disconnect in communication between them. You know, it's like,
and I
all
mean,
right, this is what
plenty
we're
of ideas
doing.
that I could dive into, but I would want it to be presented in a way so that you would then be able to work with it, right? Like mining with licensing, or like missions that cater to things that you can leverage,
Sure.
things like that, where you're like, cool, I don't have to put in like 80% of the work to have people playing. It's more like people can kind of do it at their own pace and then throw in with the more experienced people, and it all kind of jives and melds and has that chemistry that plays into it. But I mean, the point here is, why can't we just do simple? That's
Yeah.
the answer. Just keep it simple. As soon as you do that, you can have a lot more people that are interested in it and want to genuinely engage with the game.
Agreed wholeheartedly. And I'm curious if we end up getting some people that are on the side of, yeah, this was this year's CitizenCon. We need them to do these big pushes towards these things, because I'm curious, like, you know, was this a good choice or was this a bad choice? You know, we're not game developers, we don't necessarily know, but it's you know, I still don't see the NPCs traveling me from one place to another that we saw at CitizenCon 2019, right? There's some, I don't see NPCs doing barrel rolls or a lot of things that we saw there. I don't see you know, a mission where I have to hide behind NPCs and it's really stealthy. So there's some things that we did see at CitizenCon that we did get. There's some things that we didn't, right? So the idea of that always pushing everything forward isn't always entirely the truth either. You know, going as far as ArcCorp. That was like fake ArcCorp in 2017 or whenever they showed it. And then in 2018 or 19, whenever we got it, it was a different looking one. You know, so it was
I mean, one of the big takeaways I would like to see early next year, this year, I have to remember this now, is the fact that I think if anything could be taken away from this experience, is that I would really like the development team as a whole to kind of look at this and go, what was the lesson that we learned here? And what was the takeaway that pushes us towards that next thing? Like you say, right? If this is supposed to be their big push for, you know, 2021, of like, we were hoping to do something that would drive us as a team to achieve something, I would like that lesson learned early in, you know, maybe even this week onwards, for them to kind of go, yeah, look, we did push it a little bit too early, and yeah, we know that it just really wasn't that good. But if the lesson here was like, yeah, but you guys will be really surprised at what we do have planned, and here it is, and it just blows us all away, that to me is the part where you've removed the marketing from everything else. And then, that's
like, we didn't know about this.
Waiting for.
We didn't know about this. They dropped the shit in game, the sounds in game a little bit, and then everybody kind of just was like, I guess it's, you know, I guess it's not happening, or whatever that was, and then we just kind of ignored it. So at this point, to drop that video was just, without knowing that it was in a perfect place, was just dumb.
Yeah.
Just flat out dumb. Because if it was good, if it was really fun, and then like the worst part is that you have like Xylo going, but you know, what we've played is really fun, and it's like, when it works, it's fun. I think he said that on like Reddit or something like that, or on Spectrum. And it's just like, come on, man. Yeah, you guys are playing on your internal, you know, builds and everything looks great, like it always does. Like every time we've ever said, oh, well, you know, this is buggy, there's so many times that the dev comes back and is like, well, it works on our end. Must be the servers, you know? Must be the servers. Well, you know what? If that's always the excuse, then we're not ready for big events like this. If on your end everything's great, but then when we get it, it's crap. So
yeah, I mean, and that opens up a whole can of worms that I probably wouldn't be too comfortable diving into.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, if I was to look at, if I had a choice, and if it came down to, let's do another Vandal Mask event, like maybe they could even just copy literally the same thing, maybe add something else as an incentive, or XenoThreat. I would say do another Vandal Mask event, 100%, because I'm actually more disappointed in the fact that, when was it, October that we had it last? So it's been a couple of months that they've had a really good opportunity to reintroduce something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. I think everybody would have been losing it over the Christmas period if that was something that was being implemented instead. It's just, I can think of the amount of money that it would have saved on the project, the amount of stress that it would have removed from a lot of the developers around this time of the year, and then just everybody in general being like, I actually want to log in. It's not like Cyberpunk would have been a huge impact to a lot of people. I think, like myself, I would have been logged in right on the spot just to see what was going on and how it would have been. But ever since the XenoThreat, I'm like, I've got no desire to want to log in and see what's going on because it doesn't look like it's a great time. I mean, anybody that's playing now would argue otherwise, but I mean, I'm not motivated to log in, so that's not a good look. Just contradicts that letter even more. But anyway, we'll get off that topic and let someone else jump into it.
All right, Sigma. Yeah, I mean, I'm sort of okay with the delay of XenoThreat, just to be clear, because I think there is quite a bit to dive into. You got the reputation with the bounties. I think the mining stuff is pretty cool to check out, so I'm enjoying it. But the obviously there's a lot of desync problems. So anybody who does combat is just brutalized by the game because it's just unplayable for them. And even then, it's pretty much unplayable for you even using like auto gimbals and stuff. It's really rough. But from a mining standpoint, it's kind of fun, not too bad. So I'm doing that, and then hopefully the XenoThreat stuff comes in whatever state it comes in, and then that's something I get to dive into it additionally in the patch. Like, how sick would it be? New content, like new features added to the game. You play that early in the patch, and then every quarter they drop an event like halfway through. So once you get bored of the new content, you have more content. That would be genius if they were able to actually do that.
Yeah, if there's going to be like small drip feed things between now and March, I'll be a very happy man. To answer one final thing before you can move on, like, I know that your like big critique is the player that comes in that likes the big ships, but I'll tell you, man, when that Hercules drops and the concept of you just doing logistics as a whole in that ship, I'm gonna be addicted again to this game, something fierce, because I'm not looking as that ship being a ship. I'm just thinking of all the gameplay stuff that goes into the imagined stuff. But anyway, we'll leave it there. I'll let you move on. Thanks
Shit
for having
makes me imagine too. But all right, Sigma, be good, buddy.
Yeah, take care.
Bye now. All right, so Afro is next, but I think we do have another tweet, so I'm gonna check that real quick. Switch here, and then check out the tweets. I need to have the tweets on the other screen to make this simpler. Yeah, we do. We have a couple. So Rainbow tweeted, SaltEMike, I would definitely like to see more small events like the Vandal Mask and the Benny Hench stuff. It would be cool to have a co-op event. Some kind of mining stuff would be nice for the PvP event. This would be the kind of thing that can keep us happy whilst they work on big stuff. Yeah, like anything. Okay, the Vandal Mask event was very much a solo thing, right? Where it was you go out and you kill stuff. It would be cool if they made it so there was some sort of cooperation that needed to happen. I don't know what something like that would look like, but it's hard to disagree with that. But it's really easy to say, it would be cool to do this, and it's a whole nother thing to do it. So we'll have to see. But all right, moving on to our next caller here. Afrotastic. Let me get his name ready to go. I think it might already be there. Yeah, it's ready to go. Okay. Bring Afro in. Afro, welcome, man. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing? I'm good.
All right, let me turn you down a little bit. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on everything here? What side of the fence are you on? Are you on the should we just do simple things and let me enjoy what little pieces of the game we have now, or do you think we should really try and continue to push the game forward? Because hell, this game's got a ways to go. So, are big jumps now more important?
I mean, I love the idea of the XenoThreat, like the big events just sound like so much fun.
Yeah.
But I think you have to be realistic and like look at where Star Citizen is as a game. And right now, I don't think it's ready for those massive events, those big things.
Yeah.
Like the main issue is really the servers at this point. Like you see in this patch, 312, the desync is unbearable. Like even recently I've been getting messages on my game saying desync, wait this long to like resync up, and it ruins the experience.
Yeah.
It's not at a place where you can have fun fighting an Idris. It's not at a place where the in-game AI is good enough where you can have an immersive and fun experience.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time I think they don't really realize that. I don't know if it's Chris that's saying like, "Oh, I got my game here. It's amazing. We can do whatever we want. Shoot for the stars." That's been his thing. But I think they need to kind of ground themselves a little bit and say, "We don't have the tech ready to do these. We need to focus on small events to bring a more concurrent user base into the game."
Yeah. Like, I just don't see. I agree with you. If the servers are going to be like this, I think what they're trying to really do is be like, hey, here, we know server meshing's taking forever. We know this stuff is taking forever, so we need some things to keep you engaged and keep you here. But I feel like with them, they always need to be this like big, great, grand events that like everyone has to be like, oh wow, thank you CIG. Like the thank you CIG Reddit posts go flying out. But like in reality, what would make me say thank you CIG is if we had consistent things to do in game and little things to work towards, small steps, more and little enjoyable experiences. That's all I would ever ask for at this stage until we hit server meshing. Because I've said it a million times. I've said it for the last year at least. Star Citizen doesn't exist without server meshing. Until server meshing is there and we're all in one place, none of this matters anyway. So at least give me something to enjoy and have it be simple, so it's not something that's like a big thing to overhaul to bring on when server meshing happens, right? Like, excuse me, imagine doing this stuff where you're doing the XenoThreat event and in reality, like, does this even tie into when we have server meshing? I don't know. So
I doubt it. I've been following this game. I've been backing it since 2014. So I've been around for the ride, and for server meshing iCache, I can't imagine it's gonna be in before December next year, or this year. Sorry.
I mean, when Chris is even doubtful, like that's when you just go, yeah, it's not happening. You know?
Yeah. Then I know, maybe even 2022. Who knows?
He did the same thing in 2019. He was like, we're gonna get iCache, but hopefully we get server meshing. Didn't get either.
Yeah.
And he said the same thing this year. So I don't listen anymore. That's why I want the little things, because I just want to what's in front of me.
There's so much opportunity.
Make it fun.
For those little things.
Exactly.
It's like we like you were saying. I agree a lot with Sigma Tech and what you guys were saying. With even like the Vandal mask and just simple things like that. I mean, my one issue with the Vandal mask is that was PvP orientated. And like that's fine, that's fun, that's good. There's definitely a portion of the community that's into that. Right now, I'm more into like the mining side of Star Citizen after the update.
Yeah.
And so like going into that, they just added reputation, they just added dynamic events. I had the same idea that you were saying, as in like there's one location on one moon, and let's say there's like 100% Quantanium everywhere. Like it's a gold mine, it's a gold rush.
Yeah.
Everybody heads there, everybody's going there. You have the same thing as Jumptown, where there's bounty hunters or pirates and all hell goes loose. Everything is crazy and fun, and that's what the community loves. Look at what people are doing as well with the rallies, Daymar rally or scramble races or stuff like that. It's like, or even this the 600i or 890 jump, where people go into those ships and have org battles that are like 20 versus 20.
Yep.
Like I think that they have to look at what people can do now and what people are doing now, and add those as structured events that anyone can be a part of if you're not in like an org or something like that.
Yeah, like almost in a way, maybe this is a good example, maybe it's not, is a lot of times I feel like game developers will see like what the modding community does with their game, and that, one mod does really well, people really love it, and then they start integrating those kind of aspects into their main branch, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know if that even happens, but I think people, yeah, they might see like, all right, well, people like that was the weirdest thing, man. Like everybody loved Jumptown, and then they just didn't do it again.
They added it to the
There's
lore, like it's part of the game. It's been a huge thing, and then they ignore it.
and then they just never do it again. It's just kind of weird,
Yeah,
you know.
it is. It is.
There's been
And
so
like
many opportunities for it.
I think now, like we say that, but I think now that they've added this new tech or whatever, I think that they hopefully do lean more into that and do
Yeah,
start doing more of that stuff.
agreed.
But some other ideas that I had that they could, I think, do like pretty simple, because obviously I'm on the side of the simple things, is like they tease the new cargo types with 312, and
Yeah,
I own a cat. I That was like one of the most hyped things in this patch that I wanted, and then they didn't even mention it. It just like I was searching up like, oh, what happened to this? What happened to this? And it's not in the patch. But
no, just you got two
I,
pictures, and they teased it like multiple
yeah, yeah,
times. No, just nothing. Yeah, that was disappointing.
it
That'd be
was,
sweet if
and I
that was
think
an event.
yeah, I think you either you make that an event where you have like a derelict that's full of this like radioactive or volatile cargo,
Mm-hmm.
and you use the tractor beam, the new like multi-tool
Mm-hmm.
addition that they just added in the patch. You use that, you bring it in. Again, you can have pirates, you can have a ton of cargo haulers, and bring everybody into like a concentrated space. That would be really fun.
Agreed. Yeah. Like,
Or
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry. Continue.
oh yeah, so, like so another way you could do that as well, I think, is if you go the more reputation route and you
Mm,
say, okay, you have kind of guilds, and if you're in the cargo hauling guild, you level up to this amount, you've moved this amount of cargo, now you unlock this new cargo type that's volatile or more difficult.
That would be cool. Like, yeah, just have progress into it. Right? Is like, all right, yeah, you did
Hmm.
the little things, and now you're ready for the tough stuff. And what
Exactly,
would be
yeah.
cool? Like, I always really feel strongly about this is that just because you have an Aurora doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to engage for these in these things. So, or make a decent paycheck. Like
Yeah,
volatile cargo, even at a like maybe it should always be a small scale. Maybe you can't have too many of these things all in one place. So having only 3 SCU of space isn't like as big of a detriment all the time. But maybe you have to work your way up to get there, kind of thing. Like, yeah, I moved 100 of these little boxes in my Aurora to get to this point where now I'm making a ton of money and I'm a trusted
yeah.
member of I don't know, Kovalex shipping company.
Yeah, like that. And then even I'm just thinking now is like, oh, you're a member of Kovalex, then give me a skin. Give me a Kovalex
Yep.
skin for my ship. I know
Exactly,
the
dude.
chat
I work for
already
them.
has that, but
Yeah.
yeah, you can do a lot with that too.
Yep. Like how sweet would that stuff be?
I love it. Like I have my ships. I just want skins. I want to look cool. I want that new stuff. I want something to work towards instead of just buying it.
Yep. I think they're starting to understand that sentiment. I really do. But then they do this
Mhm.
stuff like XenoThreat and you're like, "Wait, do they?" So that's like why I really
Yeah.
wanted to have this show. It was like did I never think that I speak for everybody. Sometimes I'll say we all think this, but what I really mean when I say that is like I think that. It's just like an expression, I guess. And and I guess maybe I'm speaking for my chat sometimes. It's like I'll say something and then you see like true a lot. But
Yeah.
the the whole thing is that I think a lot of people do probably feel this way. Is I want to like especially now, dude. I don't know how you feel, but after seeing these the progression with bounty hunting, like I'm so happy with what I see. I really hope we see this get added to everything in the
Yeah,
future.
no, I completely agree. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the game as an MMO, like you need that. That's the
Yeah.
heart of the MMO.
Yep.
And when they say like, "Oh, you don't level up your character, you level up in skill," having it where you have to do these things so many times or have so much quantanium, it means that you actually have to be good enough to get that quantanium, understand it,
Yep.
and then if you unlock, like, let's say with refineries, you unlock new refinery processes, like once you have done so much, or maybe specific, like, let's say if you have so much uh mining that you've refined, it says, oh, this is a special process that's just for Quantanium,
Yep, and
or
you
this
get
is a
like
special process.
20% bonus or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then you can focus, you can say like, okay, even if it's like in a specific refinery, you can say, okay, now me as a character, I'll stay in this territory, I'll go to this moon or this asteroid belt, get the Quantanium, bring it back, and then have that bonus, and then keep that persistent, of course.
Yeah, I love it. And I hope they just kind of, I don't think they listen to the show, but I hope somehow this gets
Yeah,
through that, like
I mean,
the
some
smaller
devs
things
are
might be
hearing
better,
it.
you know.
Yeah. And like obviously I don't know any game dev stuff, so I don't know how hard it would be for some of this stuff, but I think that they've kind of set themselves up so it's possible now. It shouldn't be too difficult now.
Hmm.
And if you focus on like the smaller stuff like this and have more consistent content, then that's the way to go in my mind.
Yeah, at least for now until server meshing. Then start going
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
That's how I feel. Start smashing things and breaking them and doing whatever you need. But while you have this half playable thing, just try and make it a little bit more fun. Like I said it earlier and I'll say it again. Not everything has to be about the sale of the game. Not everything has to be about the development of the game. Some things can be about the people who play the game and actually like
Mhm.
to enjoy it and want to play it as if it is a game. Just a little bit,
And
you know?
respect your backers who've put all this money into it and
Yeah,
who've been there since 2014 through all the ups and downs.
exactly. Like you have your events where you do your fire sale stuff, and for me, like I'm now at the point where like, all right, man, like do your thing, sell your spaceships. Have your 2 times of the year where you go crazy and you sell your spaceships. Go for it. But I gotta have my time every now and again too. You gotta give me my stuff. You gave me the Vandal mask. Give me some more. Give me some more. That was great. I
Yeah.
want more of that stuff. So we'll see.
And it can be simple, like a skin, like a one mask, even if
Yes.
it's
Like just
like a
imagine
piece of
earning reputation
armor.
with Kovalex and role playing like I work for Kovalex. It's
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
stupid. It's so stupid, but I started smiling because that's what we need. Because that stuff is
And
cool.
that's my vision for Star Citizen, right? Like I want to be in the industrial side. I want to say like bring in a mining company too,
Yep.
and maybe one company has a mining laser that only its employees use that has certain benefits,
Yep.
and the other has a different like.
Yeah. Be sweet. Well, all right, Afro. Before we let you go, is there anything else you want to add? And I enjoyed the call a
Uh,
lot. It was fun.
yeah, thanks. There's not too much. I mean, just to wrap it up, I'd say watch or I hope CIG watches what the players do and bring those type of events in the game. I'm still waiting on the races at Grimhex
Yeah.
or whatever that becomes, and hopefully I'm also really looking forward to more FPS.
Mm-hmm.
I know their AI is pretty lackluster right now,
Yeah.
but maybe even like make an event that's almost like Star Marine, but in the PU, where you go to like a specific location and you fight to hack a terminal or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
We'll
But
see.
yeah,
We'll see.
that's all I have.
All right, man. Thank you for your
All
call.
right,
I
thanks for
appreciate it,
having
bud.
me.
Yeah, man.
Take it easy.
Bye now. All right. Again, we do have another tweet before we go to our next caller. This has been a nice balance of tweets versus calls, which is pretty cool. From Warp Space, he says, SaltEMike, I feel like they're using XenoThreat event to test Squadron 42 battles. It was probably smooth locally, now tested with bigger player base. You need to test it. You need to work out the bugs. Obviously, it needs more work. My 2 cents. I agree. Like I said, I think that there are two sides to this story. But I think in the end, it highlights what the player base needs versus what the company needs, and what's more important. I think they're equally as important. So it's a tough one. Do we do the XenoThreat event now? Well, maybe we need to, like Warp says. But for me, what I need is different, and I'm gonna be vocal about what I want from the game and what I think is important, because that's what feedback is. My feedback is that's what you have QA for, as far as Squadron 42 goes. And I want to enjoy Star Citizen, and that's me. So, yeah, it's hard to disagree with this statement, and that's why I thought that this was a kind of an interesting topic, is that this absolutely is that Star Citizen Squadron 42 push forward type event. So how bad do we need to do this? We might really need to do this pretty badly. So, all right, with that said, let's bring in our next caller. It is a fan favorite caller. It's going to be ASN. I'm just trying to manage here. I have a weird setup where I'm like, the tweets are on one PC, the changing the name for the callers are on another, so I'm like swapping around all crazy, so I apologize. ASN, welcome to the show. I actually have to bring him down. ASN, welcome. How you doing, man?
Hello, everyone. Doing good.
So, as always, we'll preface this a little bit. ASN is a game developer, headed up a studio that just released a game, Scissorane. I don't know how to say it properly, but I always mess it up. They make fun of me. They seem to make fun of me in chat when I say it, though, so I thought I had it right, but I don't know. And he tends to come on the show and gives us a really good perspective from a game developer's side. When we're sitting here going, we're gamers, we want this, he kind of wakes us up as to what it's actually like. So, what are your thoughts on these kind of subjects, ASN? Do we go simple, or do we need to really push things forward with how complex of a game Star Citizen is?
So there are a couple of reasons why, and I'm gonna give again the perspective that I have. So this is something that it's not something that I would apply, but it is something that I think is relevant to this game and its current state and what it's going through. The reason why any company does big events like this is to connect it with a marketing push and to maintain, obviously, the attention, keep the player base, attract new players.
Yep.
While it is going for those other targets. So it's really hard to market.
Just to interrupt real quick, from a game developer studio, they have to be constantly on the prowl to be gaining more and more players, right? It's not as simple as let's shut because that's kind of how I've been saying it is, all right, you get your 2 times a year where you get to be marketing absolutely insane, and then the rest of the year, can you please focus on the game? That's where I'm coming from, but you're touching more on player acquisition has to be happening 24/7 all the time, correct?
Yeah, especially for a company like this, right?
Yeah.
So for example, from our perspective, when we started making an indie game, our goal was not to have hundreds of thousands of players or whatever. The goal is to get this art project out that has a lot of passion and all this thing behind it, that human element, the art element, and then hope that that niche appeals to a certain amount of people that enjoy it,
Yeah.
It's not this intentional thing of we're gonna have so many players, we're gonna have that doesn't exist in the indie scene. Not I know a lot of developers. I've met some of the top indie developers of Germany, a couple of studios. No one thinks like that.
Yeah.
But when you're as big as Star Citizen, as big as Cloud Imperium, things roll differently. There's a bigger organizational aspect, or more people to pay. There are investors to look after. Is the responsibilities are higher, so the stakes are higher. Things get a bit more serious. So that is why, beyond the patches being a big push for the game, you also have to, because it is supposed to be a live game, you want to add stuff that also makes that wave, which is these types of events. So these types of events are really easy to market, and they can also be packaged with patches. And generally, when you market a game, I think that's the best way to do it. That you tell people that you're going to give content, and there's something really unique and shiny about whatever you're giving. It appeals to the press. It appeals to the people. It's memorable.
Yep.
And that is why these studios do this. But they do this while at the same time maybe pushing hundreds of fixes at the back, right? Every Star Citizen patch does have hundreds of fixes behind it. But those fixes are not as marketable because it's really hard to market a changelog. I mean, like for example, Paradox changelogs are like pages long. Like nobody likes to read through them, except
I
for the really
do.
crazy Paradox fans like I am.
Yeah, I read through the Stellaris ones every time, man. They're sweet.
Yeah, it is something. So it's really you kind of like get the shiny thing at the front while also doing a lot of the smaller fixes at the back, and then kind of push that. So it is very natural for CIG to kind of get that big ticket event, and not only for that, because these online games do have these events. And
Hold on, ASN. Hold on, you're roboting right now. Can you hear me?
Sorry.
All right. Let's try again. Can you hear me?
Is that fine? Mike, hello.
All right, you're coming through clear now. If you want to start over.
All right. I was saying, since this game is trying to be like the other MMOs, it is trying to focus on that event aspect that these other games have.
Yeah.
So like all these other games have like these big events, like every quarter, every once in a while, and that they do attract attention. They're fun. Like it's just something you do as this type of a game. And the smaller stuff, that's the content that goes into a patch anyway. Like the game is supposed to keep advancing with all these small things. It's just it needs sometimes these like bigger ticket interesting things to attract more people, to keep people engaged, and to market it and to sell more while the tech is getting more mature and the product gets more mature.
Sure, but my argument is more these simple things and smaller little events rather than this big grand event is what actually keeps you engaged. Because the big event likely would keep you engaged for a day, a week, and then that's it. Once you've completed it, you've completed it. But the more of these smaller, simpler events, the more I think you raise the concurrency of your game and are playing more often on a week by week or day by day basis.
Yeah, but that's a more that's a core game issue. Like a series of small events is what a dynamic universe of Star Citizen should provide by default.
Yeah.
It's not something that necessarily it should be engineered per quarter. Like what should be engineered per quarter is something beyond that. It's an addition on top of everything that exists.
But if
So
we
right
don't
now,
have
like
that
we don't
now,
have that base.
if we don't have the small simple events, even though they did it once and they're not doing it consistently, I'm trying to understand what you're trying to say here is I'm just lost because if we're not doing that now, but that's the core basis of what this should be, why aren't we focusing on that now?
And that's the part where the technological debt of Star Citizen comes across, where you notice that everything these people have been mentioning in these calls in like over the year
are not
over
possible.
the years, actually. Exactly. So how do you maintain something while you're getting there? And that's why these things exist even more, because as mentioned by CR, like we have this like larger funding coming in, we have more people attracted, which means this system works well. It is kind of proven right now that they're on the right track with this. And they kind of have to make sure people are attracted, more people come in. And this is part of that. And I know like the core, I played 3.12 last week.
Yeah.
And my experience has been like a lot of ups and downs. It's like mixed emotions all over again, which is like generally my Star Citizen experiences. Like moments where it's really good, where like whenever like everything functions, you feel like it is something that you don't experience in any other game.
Yeah.
But then moments where it's like even the most basic things don't work, and the core gameplay is damaged by the existing problems of the game. And the thing is, like, it's really hard to kind of fix and like add these smaller things that you mentioned without having the bigger things like the technological problems solved.
Yeah.
And those things will take years to solve, as you've seen with OCS and server-side OCS and die cache. Like all the things that they're building all did take years. Like even from 2012 to 2015 to 2015 to 2018, like all those like tech jumps took 2-3 years. Like it's really hard to expect like anything less for any major tech jump. So what is that company going to do until that time? Are they just going to fiddle around their thumbs and just like try to not attempt the stuff? So the idea is they try to do these things, and then when they look at it, it's like, oh, it's maybe a bit even too broken for our alpha. They push it forward, and they're like, okay, let's just give it a bit more time, maybe make it bearable, and then release it.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to come back with the XenoThreat event is like this massive thing, but what I think a lot of people want is something as simple as, when I do a mission, I would like to receive a reward rather than money. And why couldn't we focus more on something like that? Which maybe that is not, well, actually, it's not a maybe. We know that is not possible right now, and we know that is something that they want to work towards. That could have been something that was prioritized, but it had different ways that they needed to get there, and they're not there yet. For me, instead of seeing a big thing with big explosions and big marketing, I think Star Citizen gets a bigger win if they have players engaged with their game and are playing more. As simple as, do these things get this reward? Being like the biggest priority of 2020 could have been a huge win as far as concurrency, and a huge win as far as playing the game. And that's why I pose this, why can't we just do simple? You know? Because while that may not be simple, it's more simple than what is happening right now.
But is it something that the game is really is there real design intention behind the game to do these things?
Yes,
that's another question.
They've said it on camera that is that is the next thing they want to do. When it comes to missions, we need to make it so missions are able to do this.
Yeah, so which means that there are a couple of things why it's not being done yet, right? It's either they need to work on the underlying systems, or the design needs more fleshing out, or the production priorities are elsewhere. There are generally these couple of reasons that certain things are not done, and then also of course the strategic decision of what's the payback of it, whatever. So I think generally developers, if they're really passionate about something and they have the time and capability, they do things.
Yeah,
they don't let let things wait. If I can implement an easy fix that will make a large amount of players have a better experience, I don't sit around. I just do it. Unless there's something really critical that's happening. So I think it really is important to think from the multi-layered perspective of, does the design fit the overall? Does the intention fit the overall design? Do the resources exist to implement it? Does the technological is the back end ready for it? And then do we have enough resources to spend on it right now compared to everything else that's happening in a 700-person company? So do all these things build up, right? And this is only just one part of the project. And I know it's a very important part. I've been playing Red Dead 2 recently, and I've seen a perfect example of how you can do a world that is alive. Even though it's single player, there's an online version, whatever. It's just the amount of effort that goes into making something feel alive, reactive, and spawn accordingly, take you away, and kind of immerse you. And that game was made by 1,600 people.
Yeah.
It's a massive effort, and you see all that detail coming in. And with SC, everybody wants that. It's just that there's so many things that are all changing all the time, as we've seen over the years, that it's always hard to get that thing. Because once you even get that thing, there's another thing also a lot of people forget. Let's say you implement something without really thinking into the future. You put a system in without calculating how costly it's going to be to maintain, what everything else everybody else does can affect it negatively. Then you end up putting a system that gets out of date, that needs more maintenance than you expect. Then you end up losing all that energy those developers put into maintaining something, instead of doing something new and other that would improve the game. So there are all these other considerations that go into when making this stuff. It's literally it would be that's why a producer can answer this much better, why certain things don't happen. But those are also internal company choices that companies don't reveal, because you can then debate about them. and
Sure.
companies don't want other people to debate
Yeah.
their internal choices.
Which is all we do
Um,
here. But the
Yeah.
like with everything you say, it would tell me like why would we ever work on the XenoThreat event then?
Yeah, like
Why would you ever do this then if that's how it would be? Like the game clearly can't handle this stuff.
I mean, that's the thing, the attempt. So the it
The
must
attempt might
work
be to make
on-
it
to a
work.
certain degree. So it must work to a degree where they think it is possible to push out.
Okay.
It's just that they probably underestimated how it would handle in a multiplayer environment, with a larger multiplayer environment. They probably do internal tests, but they probably it just happens. And the thing is, I know they really wanted this to be a big push because they released trailers on IGN about it,
Yeah.
and they released they did a press beat, I
Yep.
think, about it, right?
I don't know.
Um,
I just immediately once they put out the video and then it got delayed, I was like, I'm done with this. So I didn't follow it up much more.
Yeah, and by the way, this is like a worst thing that can happen to a company. It happened to us, by the way. We thought we would release in summer,
Mm-hmm.
and then certain things happened with our personal lives and with COVID, and there were some other things that happened that were like more of our personal things that kind of pushed our release forward. That's why I released in December,
Mm-hmm.
and it's such a heavy and hard choice to tell people you're not gonna release at the time you said you're gonna release. I know this is not as big of a thing. It's not a release date delay, even though SC had that. But it's really bad whenever you push something out to marketing, and you do a press beat and say, "Oh, it's gonna be delayed another quarter right after."
Yep.
It's something that you really don't want to do.
No.
It's bad. It's extra bad rep. We barely salvaged ours, and it was like I thought we were gonna have a bad time, but we did something great at the end, so it was all okay. But it wasn't a nice experience for me either because it's an internal issue that gets an external reflection. Yeah,
Sure. And then it's probably for a company like Star Citizen that much more amplified because of the openness and the community and the amount of eyes on it, the prying eyes that are waiting for them to fail, so on and so forth. Probably really tough.
yeah, and it's a responsibility thing, right? Like somebody is responsible for certain things, and it's okay to not make the right call sometimes. But the thing with Star Citizen is like the financial repercussions of the project's issues
Mhm.
aren't that strong. Like that's what I noticed. Like even though it's open, the amount of money gathered is increasing exponentially, even though targets are not being met. And this
Yeah.
creates this situation of who is responsible for what now? Like because there's no financial repercussion either.
Yeah, is there any
Um,
responsibility? That's the one thing that I think is the driving force for anybody who's for doing an event like XenoThreat instead of just doing simple things, is that's the only thing that provides responsibility. You are responsible for getting this out. Because in any other case, it doesn't, there is no repercussion for not getting anything done. Because they continuously just make more money hand over fist, no matter how bad they do.
Yeah. And the thing is that a lot of people say, oh, this is the proof that they're out to get the money. Like any company is out to get the money. And I would understand that argument if people weren't actively working and developing and putting out stuff. Like people are actively working in this company and they're really giving it their best. I think that's not the issue. Like the issue is the existing, it's a complex situation. And this XenoThreat thing is just another level of it's a result of the issue that you see.
Sure.
And yeah, it is a challenge. It's not easy. It's literally it's the same thing, flying a plane while it's being built.
Yep.
And how do you do that? it is
well.
difficult. I like the big events. And I hope I'm gonna check it out for sure once it comes out. I wish them the best of luck, but I really hope that they hire whoever's necessary for the big tech stuff. They focus on that first, as much as they can. That's always the number one thing for this project, not the other stuff.
Agreed. Well, all right, ASN. I think that was a great call as always. Thank you so much for your insights. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Have a good one, all.
Be good. All right, and our next caller is Demon Engineer. Demon Engineer, what do you think? What are your thoughts on all this stuff? Simple, complicated? How are you feeling about it?
There has been a lot of interesting discussion that's been said before. My thought is they could do both. They could go big and small.
Okay.
But what they should do is make the small bits into the big.
Yeah, I mean that's sort of along the lines of where I was feeling. Is like, can we start small and build up to something like XenoThreat?
Yeah. So like with the new mining mechanics coming, it's changed, but the whole gameplay loop has not changed. I think you still go for your laranite, your borate, your quantanium. You don't worry about aluminium or anything like that.
Somewhat. People are actually mining them because they come in such high quantities that you can do like run after run after run, and you still have to let it pile up for a while. But like diamond and aluminum and titanium, those kind of cargo hauling runs were actually quite profitable. So people, like, you can make money on them, basically. Like, a full ship of those items is nothing to sneeze at either. And the amount of time investment is much lower on that stuff, and that was the point of the change. So, like, you can make money. Are you going to make as much money as Quantanium? No, but you have to search for it. It's a pain in the ass, that kind of thing. So there's an ease for it. So yes and no.
You could push that further and say, well, these are less desirable, but we could put an event in to say, if you do this, and you could progress or get something out of it, more money or an item. It could just be a simple thing like, here's a helix mining laser with a little tweak to it that, or lore-wise, it's an experimental which will get a better breakage. So when you like break down Quantanium, it will break more into 100% pieces than not, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a percentage in yield.
And it's as simple as, like, something like that is as simple as a lore post and then a change to, I don't know, Area 18's buy price of aluminum. And just be like,
yeah,
there's a shortage of aluminum in the Stanton system. Like, a supply line was broken, and now RCorp is asking for members of, you know, people living in Crusader to, you know, they're paying a pretty penny for it. Like any other game, like, you go to the bartender and he gives you advice on the this, go over here and do this, you know, that's what's needed. So, like, there's no, for me personally, I think there's no excuse to not change a number, write a lore post, and be done with it.
Yeah, you could go like even further. We know we've got the next system developing and all that, but we still need the jump gate being built. So why not tie it in with that and say, oh, to build this jump gate, we need Quantanium stores for powering it, or titanium and aluminium to build the structure, and we need huge quantities of it for the community to do.
Yeah,
and
it would be cool.
Bring in your other loops of defensing and attacking it. Or you got your rogue guys going, well, there's a lot of Quantanium over there. Let's go take that instead of the little mole down the road that still needs to refine it.
Yeah.
So you could bring in, like, attacking that would bring in the UEE and bring in the Idris. So you can have an Idris fight there instead of just going, well, here's the Arlington gang, let's fight that, and cool, what do we need to do now? There's not really a loop. Whereas if you have that area, you can bring in the loop, you can try it again and again, see where the bugs are, where they're not, and then you can use it as a like troubleshooting system as well. It's not going to be perfect, but over time you can then iterate and iron out all the kinks, and then the overall product, it might not be what we have at the moment, but you have the experience and the data behind it to say, we can use this, we can modify this and get rid of this piece of crap that doesn't need, it's useless.
Yeah. Certainly an interesting take. I just think it can be done so simply and so easily to just get people more engaged. Like, I don't think Elite Dangerous does it that in such a complicated way. I'm pretty sure it was just lore and then price changes.
Yeah, and it's a small thing like that. There's another game that I play with, Planet Zoo, where when they launched, you had community missions of these endangered animals. We want to breed them and release them to the wild. So you've got a thing of, well, you need to get these endangered animals, which require certain things in your park to make them there, and then what do they need for breeding? Okay, I need to balance that with, do I sell them and get more money so I can do more, or do I release to the wild and contribute? And
Yeah.
you only need to do a little bit, but if everyone does a little bit, you can achieve it.
Yeah. I need to play that game again. That game, I played it on launch. It was really fun. And
It was
just
fun.
put
It
it
got
down.
buggy though, but it
Did
is starting to iron it all out, and it's worth it.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a little bit more time and then I'll go back to it. Yeah, they're both made by Frontier, so
Yeah, and
Same idea.
They do a lot of work.
yep. Yeah,
Well,
I guess.
yes.
What else? What else do you have? Anything else you want to add to this?
It's well, removing from the XenoThreat, but can we just do simple? Like,
Yeah,
okay, I spawn on Port Olisar, and my buddy spawns on Port Olisar. I'm on strut A, he's on strut D. Okay, why did we spawn on different struts to start with? But how am I going to get there? Why don't we just keep it simple? Put a lift in and go to strut D.
well, that's
I know it's a
I'll
place-
stop you
it is a
there because it's
placeholder,
placeholder. Yeah, that whole thing is they're gonna get rid of that, and that's why they're not gonna spend any time working on it because it is a waste of time.
I know, but you could then take it to, okay, Hurston. You wake up there, go to a lift, to go to a city, to go to a lift, to go to a spaceport. Why do we need those extra steps? I think Elon Musk said when he was developing Starship, he had a system of, if it's long, it's wrong, if it's tight, it's right. So why don't we tighten that group down? We can still have you can go to the city if you want to, but most people would go, I want to get in my ship and go fly. That shorten the gap. You've got a lift system, it doesn't have to be accurate. Just go. Get in the lift, go straight to the spaceport.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. It's a pain in the ass. So like yeah, I mean, you should be able to just take a train and say, I want to go to the spaceport, and it'll go there, I guess.
Yeah, it's you can shorten the loop for the people that want to, but you can still keep the loop for the people that don't want it. So
Yeah.
the role players and stuff like that, they can still go into the city, walk around the city, get to a train station and go there.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of time to get from your bed to what you actually intend to do in the game does feel excessive at this point, for sure.
I timed it once when I was on Crusader 01, and this is a small station for the people that don't know. To go from bed to ship was 5 minutes.
Yeah. There was a time where instead of going like if you died at Hurston but you wanted to go to Nix or whatever, Levski, you would actually, it was faster to reset your account and spawn there than to actually fly there.
Yeah.
Like-
and
like
that's
what?
the thing of someone needs to go back into it and go, is this fun for a new player? Are they going to understand it? I mean, a new player spawns in Hurston, and if they spawn on the lower level of the habitation, how long is it going to take for them to go, oh, I need to go upstairs to get into the lift to go to the city?
Sure, but we're pretty off topic because when we say can we just do simple, it's can we just do simple events. So
I know, I was removing the XenoThreat.
Sure.
I think the goal really is to do the little bits more to build to a bigger, and that I think it shows it with the Arlington Gang mission where
Yep.
you do your little bounty hunters and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. and then it goes into the Idris mission, and
Mhm.
you go, this is fun until you got to fight it.
And then it's a
And
mess.
Yeah, it's a mess, but that's the servers. We all know that. But
Sure.
I think they need to rein it back a little bit and say, okay, we'll go as far as fighting 5 constellations or whatever, because we know that they can work well in the environment, and then keep the stuff behind until the servers are more stable. And go, servers are stable, we'll try it. We'll try it for a week or something until it works, and then go, it's working, it's stable, we'll push it until it doesn't, and then stop and bring it back. And then go, right, what do we need to make this work further? And they don't need to tell the community, we are putting this in. It can be a surprise. Would it be better if they didn't release the video and go, oh, we've got a XenoThreat invasion coming, and then when we get there and it's released, they go, oh, by
You
the
tell
way, you're
nobody.
fighting... Yeah, you're gonna be fighting Idris, and you turn up, and in fact it's not. It's a retaliator. You go, oh my god, I've got to rethink this, and because not all wars you go, my enemy is that. You turn up to a war and go, oh, they've got that. Oh no.
Didn't Elite end up on the top of Reddit the first time we saw the aliens? I forgot the name of them.
Yes, because no
And
one
that
knew
was
about it.
Yeah, and that, I'm sorry, was 100% marketing. Like that was I don't think that was a random player. Like just the way they moved around. Yeah, the Thargoids, thank you, chat. The way the camera moved around, it was like so perfect. Is that like a cinematic thing?
I would say it was most probably marketing, but it was done in a way where it was found.
Exactly.
It wasn't just, here's a news post that this is what
Exactly.
you're going to fight.
Yep, it looked like it
takes
was
the
organic.
illusion away.
Yep. And that would like ties into what you were saying, is like it could be a surprise. And it could market itself by being a surprise. It doesn't have to be this, IGN driven thing or German magazine like they always do,
Yeah, give us little breadcrumbs, but when we get to the thing, we want something to bite into.
Yeah.
And it's okay to fail, and I think a lot of new players and newer generations don't see that. They'll want something, and they want something instantly. It's not something you built up to. I mean, case in point with the Perseus saying, why can we solo this? You got to look at it and go, is this worth investing in? Am I going to be able to do it?
Yeah.
It's not a case of I need everything. As a player I was helping, he says, I need an SMG. I said, okay, well, what do you want it to do? He goes, I want it to be the best fire rate, best damage, and best range. He goes, you're going to have to make a compromise. You can't have everything.
Yeah.
And I think the community want everything, but they can't. And I think they should like break it down so it feels like you can have everything. Bit like with the mining changes and stuff, it feels more of a loop now where you mine, you refine, you mine some more, you refine it, you build it up, and you build up enough to put into a cargo ship to go and sell. All of those loops were already there apart from the refining, but it feels a lot more of a system now. And it's those little chunks that will build up into a bigger thing like what we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just showed the Thargoid thing on stream. It feels like maybe a player found it, but I don't know. It's cool, and I think we could do more stuff like that in Star Citizen. So I'm kind of with you, and I'm glad you brought stuff like that up because that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's just a little breadcrumbs, and it leads to a bigger thing. And not everyone has to do it. I mean, I haven't fought the Idris thing yet, and that some people have thought that's the first thing we're going to do. I mean,
yeah,
I don't really have an interest in fighting it. It'll be a cool thing to do. And I'm sure it will be, but I have no interest at the moment to go. I want to fight a capital ship because the ship that I want to fight it with isn't in game yet. There is no anti-capital ships, so it's just pew 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 pew. Is it dead yet? Pew 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 pew. Is it dead yet? No. Okay, and keep on going until it goes boom. I want the dynamic of fighting with an anti-capital ship and going, can this tactic work, or am I going to need some cannon fodder and auroras or something?
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll just have to see, man. I'm still on the just super simple and keep it simple. That's how they seem to be developing every other aspect of Star Citizen, and why not the same for dynamic missions?
Yeah. Keep it simple to build the big.
Exactly. Well, all right, Demon. We'll let you go and bring in our final caller, and I appreciate you calling in, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anytime. Bye now. All right, our last caller is Bribe Guntails. He woke up early this morning and got out of bed for us, just for us. So claps and chat for Bribes.
I was all night.
What's that?
So I'm on over 24 hours of sleeplessness.
Oh, and he stayed up for us.
Yeah.
Even better. Claps and chat for that then. So, all right, Brad. Well, what do you have to add to the conversation here then?
Okay, so this whole time since I think it was Sid Alpha, I can't remember. Since 10:15, an hour ago, I've been listening, mulling
Sigma
over
Tech.
everything that's been saying, keeping myself busy, and from what I've absorbed, I hear lots of viable points. Yes, there's a lot of complicated back-end stuff going on. Marketing is probably needs to get reined in with some cold, bitter espressos. It's a personal joke I have. Oh, see, Chris Roberts fudged up something. He doesn't get any more hot espressos for the next week. I like to think that. Anyway, yeah, marketing needs to be reined in. More systemic gameplay needs to come in. All sorts of things need to happen. So, I think the first thing we can try covering is systemic gameplay and events happening. Like, for example, Jumptown. Like, Jumptown's happening somewhere here or there, like Motherlode's being spotted. Those need to happen, not because of events, but because of systemic mechanics, which we don't have yet, like scanning for resources. Your turn.
I have nothing to add to that.
Okay, I'll continue how I can. So yeah, we need systemic events that happen in the game. Oh god, I'm being reminded back to that video where that one developer was saying systemic every 5 words. Systemic explosion, systemic ship destruction. Systemic, lots of stuff needs to be in the game, and it's not there.
Yeah.
And it will really improve on where the game stands.
But
yeah,
it's just because it's not there mean that we shouldn't do anything?
People are doing all sorts of things on their own, such as the Daymar rally. These people need to be lauded on what they're doing in terms of community events.
I think they are. They get pretty good promotion from the company, and they get lots of things.
Yeah, I see Daymar rally and some other events in my retweeted in my timeline, so that's good to see. Another idea I had was related to reputation and getting faction liveries, such as like say Kovalex or Microtech, getting that stuff plastered on your ship. An example I've got is say you're mining for Hurston Dynamics. You're mining raw materials for Hurston Dynamics on their moons. You do say you do mining on your own independently around their moons, and a subsidiary of Hurston Dynamics takes a subfaction of Hurston Dynamics says, "Hey, you're doing mining in our area. We'd like to contract you into doing mining for us. We'll pay you a bit more than market value, and we'll give you some bonuses and incentives." And as you do these contracts for Hurston Dynamics, they'll reward you with, like, say, liveries that say, "Hey, I'm a Hurston Dynamics miner. I do work for Hurston Dynamics," and that brings you into a community of players that also do this work for Hearthstone Dynamics, even if it's not mining. Maybe bounty hunters who will come and give you a hand if they discover on scanners that you're under attack. And this systemically makes the player a part of a community in the game, while also setting up competition for them to compete against.
Yeah,
What do you
like
think?
against Crusader. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'm imagining
And
things
then
like Hearthstone,
like
mining going diverted to Arcor for manufacturing, diverted to Microtech or Crusader for advanced construction.
well, what if a Hearthstone Dynamics miner was mining in Crusader? Would Crusader security attack them?
No, I don't think that should happen. Instead, maybe they get harassed a bit. Maybe Crusader security goes out of their way to blow off some steam on them, like give them trouble, harry them with custom scans, just basically take out frustration on them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a little complex and a lot to do.
Say,
but
like I'm thinking reputations should be on a positive to negative scale.
agree,
Uh,
not only
this other
positive.
This other game, Star Sector, does reputation from -100 to +100, where
Mhm.
0 is neutral. And when you enter the negatives, it states, but it doesn't actually happen, that customs officials will harass you more often, while having a more positive ratio will have them tend to brush you aside in exchange for a more lucrative, more easier to bureaucratically handle scapegoat.
Interesting. I like it. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to see
And this
like
is all
Crusader
this is
mining
all
versus.
as the chat is hinting at Imagine territory right now.
Sure, but that's kind of what the show is a little bit. Like, can't we just do simple? And then when we describe what simple would be, it has to be imaginary. So
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with
police profiling. Hegemon says, yeah. I
Stop reading
recall
chat.
one of the security backends they're working on in the progress tracker is about having a security backend which tracks players.
Here. This is for you.
Okay. Okay. Now where was I? Yeah. So we've been going in I've been going off in Imagine territory right now. So I think it's fair to dial it back to more realistic, level-headed expectations.
Mhm.
I haven't been playing the game in the last 2 or 3 patches. I've been following development videos closely, the progress tracker, the roadmap, the weekly stuff all the time. Sometimes some of New Fire's stuff. Here, let me minimize chat. Okay. So yeah, I'm not as excited about Star Citizen, but I'm more neutral, level-headed, looking for pleasant surprises, and I think that's more of what CIG should focus on. Rein in marketing. Have marketing instead try to obfuscate or withhold information that comes as a good surprise to players later down the line.
Yeah.
Maybe marketing could say mislead players, like like earlier you said, someone said, what if it was an Idris? What if it was said to be an Idris, but instead it turns out to be a retaliator? What if that's reversed by marketing? Marketing tries to underplay the expectations, and then when the reality hits, it's a pleasant surprise.
Because that's a waste of money. Because the people aren't brought in by downplayed,
Yeah,
like
that's true.
marketing.
The harsh reality of business. Things need to be balanced.
Yeah.
More level-headed things. Let me quickly bring up the roadmap and see what's coming up. Find something to pull off.
Yeah. I mean, is there anything that could be possible in the future? I mean, I think it's as simple as not looking at the roadmap and looking at what you have in the game now and how can you make it more interesting. Like,
Okay,
I don't think we
I'll
need to look forward. I think we need to look current and go, how do you make the current experiences in the game more engaging where you want to engage with them more? Not how do we make the game better? How do we add things to it? Because in a lot of cases, you don't need to add. You just need to engage more with it.
Another idea that sprang to mind was Elite's what Elite does with community goals, where basically you set this two-sided fight happening in system or a region in the game between, like, say, two corporations or factions in the game, and players basically contribute to a progress bar for one or the other factions. As this progress bar goes up and hits tiers, do you know how this works?
No, please continue.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, so
I appreciate
as
this
this
a
progress
lot.
bar increases for a faction, it hits tiers, and each tier increases the amount of rewards
Okay.
that is doled out to the players who contributed within a certain percentile. So, like the top 10 percentile get the biggest reward.
What would
while
a
the top
reward
50%.
be? What does a reward look like?
Most of the time, it's just money.
Okay.
I think secondary is also faction relations.
And what does faction relation
materials-
get you?
Faction relations. Let's see. On higher relations, you get access to more missions, more
Okay.
high value missions by that faction. So, I guess a little similar to Star Citizen. You can get material rewards. Materials are basically elements, pieces of elements that are used by engineers to basically fine tune your ship components. So, like, say,
Okay.
make your quantum or frame shift drive longer ranged, spools up faster,
Okay.
or is more durable. So it's
Cool.
like a side grade thing, but it pushes in one direction at the penalty of other sides.
Okay. I think that's kind of
that
neat.
kind of stuff.
And given that we're
Um,
just in the Stanton system, who's like, I don't get the
Hold that
vibe
thought.
that
Hold
like
that thought. On
people.
the rarest occasions, they provide a rare ship modules, like, say, Thargoid-based modules or Guardian-based modules, which are another alien species in the game, but they went extinct a long time ago. Continue.
Can I go?
Go ahead. Yes, I can. I guess this microphone's not picking me up all the time. Continue.
I was just saying, like, I've never seen lore where in the Crusader system where the companies are all very friendly with each other. Like, why can't they be competitive?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
similar to factions.
They should cooperate in terms of, like, say, supply, such as on the markets, in terms of, like, buying and selling, but say in the back doors or bureaucratically or in other ways, they compete against each other. So both simultaneously cooperate in terms of trade and compete in terms of, like, say, trade secrets and technology and goals for the Stanton system.
Yeah. And then if there's a XenoThreat, they would all work together, in a situation like that.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. Some of that is seen in Elite Dangerous as well.
Okay.
I can see using existing and soon to come systems in Star Citizen. You could have, like I said earlier, working with factions, gaining liveries and rewards while becoming competitive with other groups.
Mhm.
I see that integrating into this somehow. I just can't put my finger on it. I guess what I can say right now is that people who become Crusader Industries players or Hearthstone Dynamics players would regard the other on the good side as, like, say, a trading partner for some certain material, and on the bad side as an enemy when it comes to their ideals, such as Crusaders more humanitarian, Hearthstone is more brutal and authoritarian, ArcCorp is more a uniform and monotone, and Microtech is more innovative and forward-thinking and visionary.
Sure, but how does that apply to gameplay?
How it applies to gameplay, I guess how it could work on a technical side is, like, say, give a attribute, give like a bunch of attributes that define what a mission is. Like, say, is this mission idealistic? Is it militarist? Is it corporate? Is it humanitarian? Is it ruthless? Not these words per se, but basic traits, or, like, say, Dungeons and Dragons alignment chart kind of thing.
So those types of missions would become available from those companies rather than.
Yeah, these missions would, like, say, they have the trait of being humanitarian, but also not very ruthlessly profitable.
Yeah, like you won't get assassination missions from a company like Microtech, but you might get them from Hurston Dynamics. That's kind of what you
Yes.
mean? Okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. In fact,
Yeah.
I had an example using Microtech, like a mission, completing a mission, the generic mission from Microtech would make you more favorable in the eyes of people who are also sharing some ideals in being visionaries and business-like, but would make you seen a bit not preferred in the eyes of people who are ruthlessly business-like.
Okay, and then how could that benefit you or have a negative for you? Would it be something
It
like
could
the people that align more with Microtech might have technologies that you would be interested in, weapons tweaks or something like that, similar to like engineering in Elite?
I don't see it as a way of getting rewards, directly getting rewards. I see it more a way of, like, say, influencing how the game world sees you. Like, you could do missions for Microtech to say, okay, I'm aligning with these kinds of people, or you could be doing missions for Microtech to regain your reputation. Like, say, if you're seen as too ruthless because you're working with Hurston Dynamics, because you're, say, just mining for them, you're just trying to make an honest living.
Yeah,
You
but what
could
I don't get
do
is how does
mining
that,
missions with other corporations to try to balance out your reputation.
what I don't get is how does that apply to you as the player? Like how do you see the change and what's the purpose of it? Like I think what I hear you just saying is you do these things, but like what I don't see a purpose. It's just like I align with
Okay.
these people. What's the purpose with aligning with them?
Okay, I'm thinking back to Star Sector again. This one mod that uh basically gives you diplomatic profiles of all the factions in the game,
Mhm.
and it like says, okay, these guys are +1 to idealistic and +2 to humanitarian, but -1 to militarist.
So if I'm a
That
militarist, then what happens?
If you're a militarist, you're seen favorably in the eyes of other militarists and negatively in the eyes of people who don't favor militarists.
So they're more likely to be aggressive towards me, right?
Yeah, you can. That's a
Okay.
way of saying picking your friends and enemies.
Gotcha. I
Yeah,
see
you can
that.
either honestly set your reputation or mix and match things to try to balance things out.
I understand now. Okay, cool. Yeah, I like that. I think that's pretty neat. Because Star Citizen's a big place. It should be a big world with a lot of different, like, at least if you look at lore, there's a lot of different ideals and things like that. Like, if you look at Nyx versus, I don't know, Earth or Terra, right? They're very different the way they think. And if you're doing a lot of things in Terra and you're renowned there, would you really be renowned in Nyx? Probably not, right? So
Yeah.
maybe you
yeah.
can't even
See,
land
I
there.
see you as some prim and weak-looking pansy pissing in his suit.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, that's again pulling from. I'm always pulling from Star Sector.
Sure.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
fanboy over this game. I talk too much. Now, representing idealistic, militarist, humanitarian, these factors, you'd have to be more subtle in defining these traits in missions. Like, you can't make it too overt. Like, say, hey, this mission is +1 idealistic. You can't do that
No.
as Star Citizen, I'm sure.
No. Not at least up in front that much. I don't know what their plan is. They said that they want to visualize reputation more. I'm really curious how they go about it. Because,
Yeah.
games like Star Sector might just be like simple as like +1, +2. That's like immersion
Yeah.
breaking in Star Citizen. So I'm curious how they end up
Yeah.
doing it. But yeah.
In fact, here I'm going to post a link to a picture from one of the from this mega mod from Star Sector NextRel, and here it basically gives you a diplomatic profile of the hegemony. Here you can see they're +1 militarist, +0.5 ideological, -0.5 technocratic, and this ties into the lore. But again, this is like high-level executive level stuff that
Yeah.
you wouldn't really want visible from a first-person kind of game.
Yeah. It's a little bit weird, but these aspects will sort of exist in the game. It's just how they show them, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I've gone into Imagine territory again.
Yeah, it's fine, but I think we're also like kind of coming up to the end of it. So any final thoughts before we head out for the day?
Well, right now the first thing that springs to mind is that I'm still waiting on salvage and repair gameplay. That's
Okay.
the first time I saw it. I'm like, I want to be the guy who's hanging on, clinging to the exterior of a ship, patching up holes while the ship is in the middle of a dogfight furball. That's my idealistic. Oh God, imagine thing again.
Yep.
Um,
Good luck
more
with that one.
realistically,
Good luck with that one.
yeah. Missiles guidance and control rework coming at 313. I'm interested to see how that pans out, both technically and in terms of gameplay. I'm interested in how they'll implement missile operator modes, both as for single-seat aircraft and for vehicles with dedicated weapons crew.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to an ISC about that too. But again, this has nothing to do with today's show. So now we're just having a random conversation that has nothing to do with the podcast. So
Oh my God, yeah,
Bribe.
I've completely lost sight of the topic.
it's all right.
XenoThreat.
It's all right. We'll let you go. We're gonna call it. We hit the 2-hour mark. It's probably time to end it anyway for the day. So
All right.
Bribe, I appreciate it, man. All the Imagine is not it's not that bad. It's fun to do it. That's
Next
why
time
we're
I'll
here.
try to be a bit. I'll try to read the topic next time and let it
Yeah,
stew
please
more
read
in
the
my
topic
head.
next time. That would be appreciated. All right, Bribe, have a good one, man.
I did read the topic. I just didn't let it stew in my head.
Okay.
All
Let
right.
it stew. Make some
Thank you
stew
for
next
having
time.
me. Thank you for
Anytime,
having
man.
all my ideas.
Of course, anytime. Thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you.
Unmatched V2, boys. Unmatched V2. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I thought that was pretty fun. I think we kind of come to the conclusion that we probably need to have both. You know, they need to push the game, and they need to push getting and acquiring new people all the time. But we also need to please current Star Citizen players. So we'll see what happens. I hope next year is a better year in terms of things like that. The word simple game mechanics that engage us with the game a little bit more. And yeah, we'll see. But again, thanks so much for watching. If you guys are watching on Twitch, but you kind of came in halfway through, this will be up on YouTube later today. If you are on YouTube and you want to come by and talk on the show and say hello on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, discord.gg/SaltEMike to join the show. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Looking forward to a better 2021 than we had in 2020 in all aspects, not just for Star Citizen. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.